Okay, hi class. I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to start with chapter 3 today. I've already assigned the homework actually, but I wanted to be sure to go ahead and do a recording for you guys that may need a little reminders. And be looking for chapter 4 also. I'll be posting that soon too. All right, so after we look at chapter 4, you will be ready for the first test. So I will do a review for the first exam. Now remember, this exam will be online. If you need to take the test at school, then you can make an appointment with me and we can try to get that worked out. If you're in Gadsden and you need to take the test, please get with one of your instructors there and they can proctor it and I can send them the exam, okay? Otherwise, you'll be taking it online. Make sure that you know how to download everything that you need, and I'll post something about that soon, okay? All right, so chapter 3, we're going to be talking about decimal numbers. We're going to be looking at different ways to write decimal numbers, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, okay? So write decimal numbers to words and then words to numbers. So if we had the number, this number, how would you write that or speak that in words? Well, that would be 28. 28. Okay, so that's just this part of the number. 28 and, 28 and. Now this part of the number with the decimal over 0.042, that's going to be 42. Okay, so 42, and then you got to look at where that place value is, and we talked about that a couple of chapters ago. So that 2 is thousandths. That's in the thousandths with THS on the end. So that would be 28 and 42 thousandths. Okay. Now, how would you write the number 108 and 22 ten thousandths? So 108, so you would just write 108, and then we know it's going to be a decimal. So 108 and 22 ten thousandths. 22 ten thousandths. So that would be 2 zeros and 22. So 10, this is 10 thousandths. THS, thousandths. Okay? So this is thousandths. This is hundreds. And this is tenths, okay? So it's tenths, tenths, then it's hundredths, and then it's thousandths, and then 10 thousandths, okay? So that's going to be 108 and 22 ten thousandths. 108 and 22 ten thousandths. And that's how you do that, okay? Now, what about add and subtract decimal numbers? Okay? Add and subtract decimal numbers. Well, to add and subtract decimal numbers, the biggest thing, the most important thing is to line up the decimal points vertically. So if we had this, 5.82 plus 0.096, well, how would we do that? If you didn't have a calculator, and don't always count on your calculator, okay? You would say 5.82, you're going to put the decimal vertically, okay? So line everything up. So 0.096, and then there's a 0 there, and we're going to add it. Now notice there's nothing here in this spot right here, so we're going to add a 0, okay? So just add that up like you always would. So that's going to be 5.916. So the main thing is make sure that decimal is lined up and that you add however many zeros you need, okay? Now, what about this one? 27 minus 4.03. Again, now this is subtraction, but how would you do it? Same thing. You need to line it up. So you're going to put 27. Now, remember, anytime you have a whole number, there's an imaginary decimal right there, okay? So we'll put it right there so we could see it. Then line it up, 4.03. And then where these blanks are, you put zeros, okay? See, we got it lined up. Of course, you're going to have to borrow to get your numbers here. So it's going to be 7922. So that's going to be 22.97. Okay? So line up your numbers, your decimals, and then add zeros where they're needed. All right? Pretty easy stuff. Now, what about multiplying decimal? We're going to multiply decimal numbers. So for this one, first you multiply. You ignore the decimal point, so you don't have to line it up. Ignore the decimal point. They do not need to be aligned. Do not need to be aligned in multiplication. Then, to find the total number of decimal digits in the product, you count the total number of digits in the factors. So it's better just to kind of show you. 7.25 times 0.301. Okay, so when you multiply, you don't have to worry about lining them up. You just get your numbers in there. 7.25 or 7.25. Line everything up. Okay, and put that 0 in front of it if you want to. And then you do your multiplication. So notice here we have 2 decimal places. Notice here we have 3 decimal places. So your answer is going to have 5, and I'll show you that in just a minute, okay? So when we multiply this, that's going to be 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 7 is 7. And then 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times 7 is 0. Now remember, when you multiply, after you do the first one's lined up to here, the second one you move it over 1. The third one you're going to move it over again. 3 times 5 is 15, carry your 1. 3 times 2 is 6, that'll be 7. And 3 times 7 is 21. And then you add it all up, and you end up with 5, 2, 11, carry your 1, 8, 1, 2. Now, if you have 2 decimals, the first one, and 3 in the second, when you add those, and when you add them, you should have 5 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then you come to your answer and you count 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your decimal place is going to go here. So your answer is 2.18125, and depending on how many decimal places they want you to carry, that's what your answer would be. Okay? So you count your decimal places. All right, what about dividing decimal numbers? Dividing decimal numbers. On dividing decimal numbers, first of all, you shift the decimal point in the divisor to the right to make it a whole number. And however many times you move that decimal to the right, you will move that same number in your dividend to the right. Attach the zeros if necessary and divide as whole numbers, okay? So let's just try that. What if we had something like this? 104 divided by 0.032, okay? So your divisor is 0.0, this is your divisor, and this is your dividend. Okay, that's your divisor and that's your dividend. So what we have to do is, let's set it up. 0.032 divided by 104. Okay? I think, yeah, I forgot part of the number here. Sorry. It's 104.960. Okay? 104.960. All right. So now the first thing you got to do, you got to, however many decimal places is here on this side, 1, 2, 3. That's how many places you got to move it here. 1, 2, 3. So let's rewrite it. So there won't be a decimal actually. So that's going to be 32 divided by, now the decimal's all the way over here, so it's imaginary, 960. Okay? So that's how you do it. So now we just go through and do our multiplication. So 32 will go into 104 times, probably 3. That's going to be 96 with 8 left. Going to bring down the 9. 34 will go into 89 2 times. That's going to be 64. So that's going to give us 25 left. Bring down the 6. 256. It'll be 8 times. 8 times 32 is 256. So that's going to be 0. We bring the 0 down, and that's going to be 0. So now our number, we'll fix that 8 there, is going to be 3,280, and that's our answer. Okay? So that's all you have to do. Just, most people forget, that you got to move that decimal over. So if it's been a while since you've done this type of long division, but you need to move that decimal over 3 places in this case. Now, if it's 4, to be 4, and if it was 4 here, you would have to add another 0. Okay? So practice those, and you'll have that down in no time. Now, what if we had to calculate a group of numbers and find the average? Find the average of a group of numbers. So, kind of like finding the average of your grade. That's important, right? So to find an average of a set of numbers, you divide their sum by the number of items in the set. You round the answer to agree in precision with the least precise number. So, for example, let's find the average. Find the average of this group of numbers. Okay, so our group of numbers is 4.2, 4.8, 5.7, 2.5, 3.6, and 5.0. Okay, that's our group of numbers. So what you do to find the average, that's going to be divided by the sum, which is just adding those numbers up, divided by the total number. Okay? So for our case, it's going to be 4.2 plus 4.8 plus 5.7 plus 2.5 plus 3.6 plus 5.0. And all that divided by the number 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when we add all those up, we get 25.8 divided by 6. So when you do that, you end up with 4.3. And that's the average, okay? Now, let's say you ended up with 4.32. Let's say that was your answer. It's not, but let's just say it was. If that was your answer, what you would want to do is round this number to the nearest one that these were. Look, if you notice, these are all tenths. So you would want to round it to this value. So then it would be 4.3. Okay? So just keep that in mind, and we're going to do that here in a second. Let's do one more. Let's do one more example. So we got another one. It's going to be our average equals our sum divided by how many numbers we have. In this case, we're going to have 42.7 plus 55.8 plus 38.5 plus 46.9 divided by 4. So we add all those together, we get 183.9 divided by 4. All right, now, when we do this value, do this calculation, we end up with 45.975. Well, notice that each one of these are a tenth. Every one of these, it's to the tenth, okay? To the tenth. So we want our answer to be to the tenth. Well, to the tenth would be to here. Okay, so we look at the number to the right. The number to the right is a 7, so we should round that up. When we round that up, we end up with 46, and that's okay. So our value, though, would be 46.0. Okay, you would always put 0.0 because it's supposed to be to the 10th. All right, good. So practice that. The next type is how to round decimals, which we just talked about a little bit, but let's talk about it some more. So if we were rounding numbers, if we round a decimal, it's similar to rounding a whole number. You know, a whole number, if we have the number 76 and we want to round it, that would be 80, right? But with the decimal, it's really, really similar. So if we had the number 80.12 and we want to round it to the nearest tenth, we look at the number to the right. In this case, it wouldn't round. It'd be 80.1. So this number to the right needs to be 5 or greater. Okay? 5 or greater. So what if we had a number like this? 35,782.462. All right, what if you had that and we wanted you to round it to the nearest thousand? Not thousandths, thousand. So here's the nearest thousand. So you look to the number to the right. If it's 5 or larger, you round it up. So that would be 36,000. And that would be to the nearest thousand. Well, what if I wanted to round this number, 35,782.462, to the nearest hundredth? Let's round it to the nearest hundredth. Not hundred, but hundredth. Okay, so the nearest hundredth is going to be right here. And we look to the number to that side, and it's a 2. So in that case, the nearest hundredth is just going to be 35,782.46. And it would be 0 here, but since it's to the right of the decimal, we can drop that 0. Drop the 0. Okay, so we can drop that 0. All right, good. And that's how you do rounding. Now, the last thing we're going to do is convert fractions to a decimal. And to do that, we divide. So if we had 3/16, that would be 16 divided by 3. Now, we know that 16 won't go into 3, so we're going to put a decimal there, and we're going to add a 0. 16 will go into 30 one time. We do our math here. We get 14. 16 won't go into 14, so we're going to add another 0 and bring it down. Okay. So now 16 will go into 148 times. 8 times 16 is 128. Again, we're going to do our math. And we're going to have 12 left. We're going to bring another 0 down to here. So now it's 120. So that's going to be, again, another 7 times. And that's going to be 112. So we're going to have 8 left. Okay, we're going to bring another 0 down. And that's going to be 80. 16 will go into 80 5 times. And that's going to be 80. So once we get to 0, we don't have to do it anymore. So our answer, 3/16, is going to equal 0.1875. Okay? And that's how you do that. Let's do one more example. What if we had 5/6? So that's going to be 6 divided by, let's see, I don't want to run out of room, so that's going to be 5. So 6 will not go into 5, so we're going to add a 0. 6 will go in, and you put your decimal there, and you can put a 0 in front of that if you want to. So 6 will go into 58 times. That's going to be 48 with 2 left. So put your 0 here, bring it down. 6 will go into 20. I'm sorry, 6 won't go into 2, so you bring another 0 down. 6 will go into 20 3 times. It'll be 18, 2, bring down another 0. 6 will go into 20, again, 3, 18. And if you notice, it's just going to keep going. So we can stop there, and if we stop there, we can say 0.83, and we can put this bar above it, which just, if I can make that neater. There we go, approximately 0.83. And if we put that bar on top of it right there, that just means it continues, okay? So 0.83, because otherwise it would be 0.833333, keeps going, okay? So anytime you have a number repeating, if you put the bar above it, it's understood that that number repeats, okay? So that's all you had to do. I've already assigned the homework on Blackboard. So please go there, turn in this homework by Monday, and watch for chapter 4. It will be sometime this weekend also. And then next week I will record a lesson for a review for chapters 1 through 4. Okay? Y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.